What's up, everybody? THiNK International, bringing you innovative and creative leaders. I'm here with Mike Foster, who heads up People of a Second Chance, as well as Plain Joe Studios. How you doing, Mike?
Doing great. Hey, Jeff.
It's good to be here in this really kind of almost secret hideout type office atmosphere. You're in a suburb, but it's like a full-on studio.
Well, it is. We're kind of hiding out here in a very small city in Southern California. It's sort of our secret lair where we dream up things to try to change the world.
There you go, there you go. Now, speaking of changing the world, you have People of the Second Chance, a ministry that is literally just started. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, People of the Second Chance is an organization that is focused on unleashing radical grace in our life and leadership. And so we dealing with the topics of failure and pain and how do we become better grace dispensers in our everyday lives, and just really challenging people to step it up in giving grace.
Right, right. Why do you think grace is such a major topic right now?
Well, I think grace is sort of at the core of the Christian message and what Jesus was all about, and I think it's certainly something that we need. One of the things that we believe in People of Second Chance is that we're living in a grace-scarce world where we have so many opportunities to give grace, and yet nobody's giving it. There's this kind of this harshness and this hostility that our relationships are sort of experiencing every day, and we watch it on TV, and we're seeing like the more outrageous and mean that you can be, the better. Sure. Even research shows that there's sort of been a decline over the past 10 years in empathy and seeing other people's perspective, which I would say is completely connected to grace giving. And so I think it's definitely a popular message, and one that we're all sort of trying to figure out. And for us, with People of the Second Chance, we're just saying, okay, not only do we need to figure out the message, but we need to really live it out and give it. And because every day we're in situations where people need grace.
Right. So figure out the message and then really figure out the methods.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that, as being People of the Second Chance, that Vanilla Ice deserved a second chance?
Well, I would say, of course, Vanilla Ice would deserve a second chance. I mean, it's close, though. Yeah. It's right on the border, but I really, truly believe that no matter what you've done, good or bad, you deserve a second chance.
Ice, ice, baby. Your book, Graceonomics. Tell us about that. It's brand new, and it's available where, and what's the content?
Yeah, it's a self-published book that we're just selling through People of a Second Chance, POTSC.com. And then you can buy the Kindle version on Amazon. Oh, right. And yes, we're high tech now. But I wrote the book just really, again, to sort of present this practical guide to help people begin sort of those first steps of how do you become a better grace giver. And I really think through the research that I've done, through just the people that I've talked to, some of the things that are happening historically and culturally right now, we need this message of second chance living. So there it is, Graceonomics. Check it out, buy it. It's good stuff. How much is it? It depends. I think it's like really cheap if you buy 2 copies. Okay. Here's the deal. I don't want this book for you to read this book by yourself and then put it down and you go away. I really want people to have community and conversations around the topic of grace, and and then have some sort of accountability. Okay, I read this. Yeah. What do you think about this, and how can we, be better at this particular, giving grace to the grace killers, and how do we rethink how we see ourselves, and how do we embrace our shadows? Some of the things I talk about in the book. It's kind of expensive if you buy 1 book, but it's actually pretty cheap if you buy 2. Buy 2, and this actually has basically some of the methods on how to release grace into our everyday living. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not a reader. Okay, I think most people probably, like me, read the first maybe 100 pages of a book and they get through a third of it. I wrote this book for myself. There you go. I wrote it for the Twitter people, the blog people that just want to feel good that they actually got through a book. There's lots of pictures inside, lots of little things to write, and so it's a really easy read, really practical, but I think also very challenging and transparent.
Why do you think that we as a culture handle failure so poorly?
Yeah, I think, most of our lives, especially if you're growing up in a Western culture, American culture, you're taught how to succeed. You're told, like, it's all about winning, success, putting runs on the board. And the problem with that is that's only half of our experience. That's only half of our life. I mean, I look at my own life. I got, almost every decade that I've lived, there's been a massive, major failure. Like something that just like whether it was on the verge of bankruptcy, whether it was a complete relational blowout, whether it was a ministry failure. I mean, these sorts of things are like part of our story. And I'm not alone in this. This is something that we're all dealing with. And yet it really breaks down, like when we experience that failure or that mess or that disappointment, we really have no tools, no way to actually manage that. In fact, the church culture actually says we don't want to hear about that. We want to hide that because God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. And those are really like important messages, but we say, embrace your light, but also embrace your shadow, understand the successes, understand your failures. Life is about mountaintop experiences, but also the valleys. And so we're just trying to provide some tools and some context for dealing with failure and dealing with those things that I think all of us experience in our life, but we've taught to sort of hide or pretend that doesn't exist.
Do you, 80s fashion is really big right now. Do you think that mesh half shirts deserve a second chance?
Well, I think you have to be pretty careful about the size of your stomach before you try to pull off mesh. And typically with our Big Mac, Pizza Hut sort of lifestyles, I don't think the mesh should be coming back, to be honest.
Mesh half shirts aren't coming back. For all you mesh half shirt wearers, put it away. Is there anybody out there that you feel has kind of that deserves that second chance, that one more go that really hasn't?
Well, it's interesting. On Monday night we watched Michael Vick. Just have an absolute amazing game, and I remember just following his story from the very beginning and saying, a lot of people did not want to give him a second chance, and it was beautiful to watch this football game where you really saw the restoration of a guy, not only into the NFL, but people kind of opening up their hearts and like cheering him along. Unfortunately, I think that doesn't happen enough. And one of the key things, like I love Michael Vick's story because you had Tony Dungy, who was a Christian guy standing with Michael Vick when he was in jail, when all of America hated him. Tony stood with him. And that's what we're calling people, through People of Second Chance, say, stick your neck out for the people that you don't think deserve grace. Stick your neck out for the people that everybody is hating on and doesn't like. I remember Ted and Gail Haggard. I think I've been standing by those guys and cheering them on from the beginning, and just saying, God's not done with that couple, and I want them to succeed. And I think they've sort of gotten some grace, but even with the start of their church, I think it's been difficult. And I think a lot of people have been sort of critical about that. And maybe as Christians, our role isn't to sort of figure out, why. Because grace is messy, right? Grace is kind of clunky. It's not easy. Sometimes things go well, sometimes they don't go well. Sometimes we take a risk with somebody and it blows up in our face. But I really think like Jesus has called us to kind of abandon this idea of safety and making sure we have all our I's dotted and our T's crossed, and just stand with people that need love, that need compassion, that need somebody who will cheer them on. And that's what I want to be. That's what I do. I don't, I wrote about it in the book that I consider myself to be a person of no reputation. I have no brand, I have no reputation that I'm trying to defend, which allows me to engage with anybody and go for it and love people and cheer them on. And it may be messy, and I realize it's not as simple as just kind of showing grace, but let's at least try. Let's begin somewhere.
That's awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Mike. Grace, people of the second chance, Graceonomics, get the book, good stuff.
If you wanna help me, Jesus, it's on.